Stadia Podcast, episode number 118, 118 for those in the UK out there. You're joining myself, Chris, alongside the man of many... Oh, wait. This is a special episode, folks. This is a special episode. We've got rid of Richie. The man of many pixels has served his time. We haven't really. He's just not very well, bless him. The bug has got him. Not the bad bug, but a bug has got him. But in his stead, we've got the return... It's a Christmas miracle, boys and girls. The man, not the man, it's not the man. See, I can't even get that right. The techie teacher himself, father of his child, is back for a very special New Year's Game of the Year roundup episode.
Wow.
Mr. Tom, our techie teacher, with his lovely Christmas jumper, I will say.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, I'm still... I know.
For New Year's.
It's yes, for New Year's.
For New Year's.
It's been a long time coming, hasn't it, really? I mean...
It has.
God, where am I? What am I doing?
What are you doing with your life? And we will get into all that, of course, because this is
definitely
the Sounds of Stadia podcast, where we round up all of your Stadia and gaming news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games, or up there in the cloud on your podcast preference of choice. And if you haven't done so already, do like the video, click down below that little magical bell, and subscribe so you're kept in the loop into 2022, all of the amazing Stadia content we do here on the channel, because Tom... As of this time goes live, next year, we'll be able to say we've covered Stadia for 4 years.
That's insane when you think about it, isn't it, really?
Slight caveat. We've covered them in 2019, 2020, 2021, and then soon to be 2022. So 4 years in name alone, but it feels longer sometimes, it feels shorter. But before we get into all the show, mate, I'm so happy you're back for this special episode. And obviously we talk off camera, we talk in our chat group stuff, and we do see each other as well. I've actually got that. I've got this new swag, by the way, to drop off at your house soon as well.
Nice.
Keep tuned, viewers and listeners, because in the new year we are looking at a merch store as well. So I don't know why I'm rubbing my left man boob for you all there.
Bit of this.
Bit of that. It is a special episode, but not that kind of special. And yes, Tom, we've got you back. We should point out Richie was intended to be here. He hasn't missed a single episode. We're up to 118, and the poor boy, he's not very well. He's got in touch with us after we planned all of this out. He's not able to make it, so good wishes, health and happiness to Richie. It's not COVID. He has got a negative test on that, but just like me on the recording on Thursday, I'm on antibiotics now as well. It's just that time of the year, right?
Yeah, absolutely is. I mean, I've had the shit kicked out of me with stuff recently too, so feel better soon, mate. Feel better soon.
I mean, the antibiotics are doing wonders. I didn't want to go to the hospital. I did that thing where, you know, like a typical man, you're like, I don't want to waste NHS time, money, like other people need it more than me. And my wife was like, no, get down. Christmas is coming up. If you can get better, don't be daft, don't be stupid. And I'm like, yeah, but it wasted, like, I'll get over it. My body, I trust in my body's health. And then she was like, no. And you know what, rightly so, because my chest has been absolutely killing me. I just won't admit it, like a stubborn man. So I'm on the mend. If I cough a few times throughout this show, just like I did last week, we apologise. And we should point out we are also recording this a little bit earlier. This has been recorded on Tuesday the 21st. So we're recording actually 10 days before it's due to go live. So apologies if we miss any news, folks. But even when Richie's down and out, Tom's making a grand comeback, I'm unwell, we're still going to bring you a weekly Stadia show, and that's what we're here to do. And thankfully, Tom, we got some pro game news. So it's actually stacked up really, really well. And we are going to be talking about our Game of the Year. But before we delve into all that juiciness, let's just catch up on you, mate. Let's catch up. That's what all of this is for. They're not here for Stadia news this week. They're here to learn about your life, how's fatherhood going, what games have you been playing, if you can even find the time to play games. You really enjoyed Spider-Man.
That is the question.
Talk to us. What have you been up to, mate? What have you been up to?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, child, naturally. Joshua's now pushing, he's over 4.5 months. By the time this episode comes out, he'll actually be 5 months old as well. So that's a big thing. That was a huge change in my life now, and all for the better, obviously. But yeah, when people really do say that a child is like so time demanding, they really aren't joking. But it's been amazing. Like the time I've had with him has just been incredible. With work as well, you know, it is what it is. It's just you get times to play games here and there, and so you sort of, I suppose, value that time a little bit more. So you really have to think hard about like what you actually want to put that time into. So I've been playing a few things here and there. I've been jumping back into some single player games. For me, one of the big ones I started playing recently was the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which I've really been enjoying. Really, really good game, actually.
How far through?
I'm actually, again, limited time, not that far through. Where have I been? I'm only about like 3 chapters into the game, to be honest with you. I think I've just gotten away from I found out about like the weird culty people.
Okay.
And sort of like escaped the ship, the Haller's Hope, is it called?
So it's about to kick off then. The story's about to get into its main gear, I'd say, after that.
Yeah, but...
there's about 16 chapters total, so to give you a feel for how far through, but... Yeah, we'll get into it later in the show with Game of the Year, but once we get the list up and we start going through, that might be my Game of the Year. That isn't Stadia related, so yeah, definitely a good pick for anyone out there. And it was one of those titles where I'm really disappointed it didn't actually make it to the platform. I really thought we would have been a shoe-in with Square Enix and all the Tomb Raider titles and such, and yet it's not.
Yeah.
Been playing anything in the cloud?
In the cloud, I actually... randomly, like I've been playing a bit of Destiny 2 here and there, just jumping in, just doing things, but Destiny 2 is starting to feel a little bit more like a second job again. So trying to wean myself off that a little bit. In terms of other things I've played in the cloud, I've actually gone back and I've been playing a little bit of Baldur's Gate 3 as well, which it's kind of a shame that Richie's not here because I know he's a big fan. But yeah, played a bit of Baldur's Gate 3, still in early access, still got a lot of things, changes coming to it and so on, but they're adding bits here and there, new classes and so on, so it's quite nice just to jump back in every once in a while and just mess around with it, and still actually really enjoying it. I think the benefit with games like that is you can sort of go in and you can just do different paths, different characters every single time and just mix it up and just see what happens when you throw shit and see where it sticks, really, I suppose.
Yeah. I know, I think Richie's put a pause on it for now because he's still waiting for like that full major release, and I know a couple of people are, but it's again, it's finding that time to go back and delve into them, and it's nice to see.
Definitely.
I think every time you go in, there's more, like, that's the great thing with the early access, is there's always stuff changing every single time you go in, almost like on a weekly basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great to see. I did have a big cough there. I was going to go to the next sentence and then apologies for audio listeners more than anything. So you're an accomplished father now, you're ticking away at your job. What about your real job? Being a teacher, hard times, keep you busy?
Yeah, it's always rough getting up to Christmas. It just feels like you get bombarded with like report writing and all this shit, really. It's all sort of like meeting deadlines and things, as I'm sure everybody's got deadlines in their jobs for stuff.
And the children are super excited for Christmas themselves.
Yeah, it's quite nice in that little like last couple of weeks running up to school when it just sort of winds down a little bit. Again, finished for the holidays, so I'm pretty good. I've got a couple of weeks off now just to chill. Last couple of days, I fortunately in my position as a computing teacher, I have the luxury of having like the computers and things that we can do with them. So I like to wind down with a little bit of Minecraft with the kids before we finish, so can get a bit creative, have a bit of fun with that. So it's not been too bad. It's not been too bad actually. Yeah, nice little break before Christmas. Just wind down.
Yeah, well, that was it, and that was why we found a great opportunity for you to jump back on, because the initial plan was we'll treat our audience to a special episode with Tom, and then Richie messaged literally 2 hours before we went live maybe to record and said, guys, I woke up fine, I've made it through work, and I've progressively got more ill as the days got on, to a point where he's just not up to it. So well wishes and health to Richie, and he will be back. No doubt the trio will return. But we have got a great show lined up for everybody, talking about your January Pro Games. A long list of Pro Games, actually. A couple of updates. And a very important figure in the Stadia community is moving on with her career. So we'll be talking about all that and much, much more. But Tom, we can't get into all that without somebody introducing us to a certain thing. That if we're honest, in his absence now, he's not here. He's been doing a terrible job, mate. He's not got that tone, that voice, that delivery that you want from introducing the news. So if you could do us the honors, please.
Absolutely, just had to limber up a little bit there. Get ready for this, crack the neck, bring it out of retirement. You must be talking about the super sexy special
Oh no!
Cut it. Let's go again. Round two.
Maybe I was harsh on Richie then.
maybe. The super sexy special Stadia Stories segment, aka the news.
You got rusty.
Wow.
You got rusty.
Absolutely.
Obviously, jokes aside on Rich, he's been doing a great job holding down the fort. He had a couple of tongue twisters early on, as we all do. There's a lot of alliteration in there. But glad to have you back. Glad to have some news to talk about. As I mentioned, we are recording this slightly early. So thankfully, just mere hours before going live, we got a community blog post, which this week, remember, recording on a Tuesday, I was really cautious that we're going to drop it on the Thursday, like leave it as late in the month as possible. With it being Christmas, no doubt the people over at Stadia are probably going to take the festive season off and probably won't return to office till January. Get them scheduled tweets in over there. And yeah, I was thinking we're not going to have anything. That's why the episode is predominantly going to be a Game of the Year discussion. However, we've got a lot to talk about, Tom. So, kicking things off with probably the biggest standing point, and that is Grace Yang, of course, awesome Stadia Community Manager, been in the role since the very beginning, since Stadia's inception. As long as we've knew Stadia, we've knew of Grace. I think she was probably one of the first followers on Twitter, and she's been an ever-present figure in the community, both across Reddit, the community blogs, Twitter, her own live streams, organising the events, of course, the face of the Rainbow Six Siege events that were hosted, the Listen Live events we've done. Always working in the background to do a terrific job. And I just want to read from her Reddit post that went up because she is due to leave the role on the 23rd of December. So I'll read directly from Reddit. Hi there, Stadians. I'm writing this farewell with many emotions, as this is one of the most difficult decisions I have ever made. On Thursday, December 23rd, I'll be signing off as your community manager and starting a program management role at Wing, which is a really exciting step for my career, luckily within the Alphabet company. So she's not going anywhere out the broader picture, but obviously Stadia aside. While I'm very excited to take this next step in my career, I can't help but feel a hint of sadness parting ways with such a wonderful community that has not only made me fall in love with gaming all over again, but also has allowed me to connect with amazing, talented and kind-hearted folks across the globe. I will forever cherish everything I learned along the way, all the new friends I made, and being given the opportunity to serve as your community manager for the last 3 years. Though I'm leaving the Stadia team, you best believe that you'll be seeing me online playing games on Stadia and trying my best to win my first game of Battle 64 on Super Bomberman R. So what can you expect from the community going forward? It's business as usual, with my esteemed colleague Chris and the broader Stadia team here to listen to your feedback and generally enjoy everything you all bring to Stadia. My heart is full of fond memories, and I can't thank you all enough, Stadians, for being the best community ever. Signing off, Grace from Google. And that was a very heartfelt blog post there, and I think I, and alongside the wider Stadia community, will wish Grace the absolute best in her next career steps. You've done an amazing job, very fond memories indeed, and I think you can take that next step in your career journey, having done a terrific, amazing everything over the last 3 years.
Without a doubt.
Add anything to that, Tom? Any sentiments of well wishes?
I just have, like most of the people in the Stadia community, a massive amount of respect for her. And, at the end of the day, time passes, people move on, and we all move on. We all have a goal within our lives, within our career, and opportunities come as they do. So all the best to her, really. You've done a fantastic job for 3 years. And like you said before, the fact that we've nearly covered this for 4 years at this point is a shock. That, to me, that time has gone by insanely quickly. So no, Grace, it's been fantastic. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your help for us, for everything you've done for us along the way. Yeah, you'll be missed, without a doubt.
Big shoes to fill.
Absolutely.
From both, I think, an optic standpoint. I immediately want to know who we can talk to next in relation to Stadia, because she very much carried the flag publicly on a lot of fronts. So whether that's people stepping up, people coming in, I'm looking forward to seeing what 2020 and beyond holds. But yeah, that just means, Tom, we can definitely reach out to her and see if we can get her on the podcast now.
Hey.
That's my initial approach. Obviously, not saying anything's happening, guys. But Grace, if you are listening, if you are watching, I know you've tuned in for a couple episodes, and we do talk off camera occasionally. Hit us up. Let's get you on the show, and we won't talk about news or anything, but we just love to hear about your gaming history and such. Yeah. So, I felt like I've called her out there now immediately after saying our farewells and well wishes. Of course, still part of the Google team, going off to work for Wing. Never heard of Wing, by the way, before this.
Wing I believe it's Google's branch of the electric scooters. Like the ones you can find in the cities and so on.
Interesting.
Don't quote me on it. I feel like I should back that up with a bit of research.
I thought it was delivery, but It's within alphabet, so one of the many letters that's there, A through Z. And yes, sad times, but good times ahead. All the best, Grace. Have a happy New Year and a Merry Christmas, and hopefully some enjoyed and well-deserved time off as well. But the train does not stop moving just because a passenger gets off, Tom, because as I mentioned before, that brings us into the story number 1 of the week after Grace's news, and that is your January Pro Games, ladies and gentlemen. January is, at this time, still a good 10 plus days away. They've treated us early. This is indeed an early Christmas present, and we've got 5 titles to break down and talk through with you all today. Starting things off with a game that I'm quite happy about, because I did not want to pay full price for it when it launched on Stadia. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is your first announced one. It was, of course, teased as part of Stadia's 12 days of Stadia, which me and Richie covered on this week's episode of the podcast. For better or for worse, those days are still ticking over. They have, in my opinion, got better. The news has started to be more about deals and games as opposed to telling us stuff we already knew. So it's it's on the right trajectory path. But here we are. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is a full game experience, an exploration-focused, side-scrolling action RPG, packing all of the best features you've come to know and love from a Metroidvania genre into a single content-packed game. Plays Miriam, an orphan scarred by an alchemist's curse, which slowly crystallizes her body. In order to save herself and indeed all of humanity, she must battle her way through a demon-infested castle summoned by, I want to say Gebel? Jebel? Gerbils? Her old friend, whose body and mind has now become more crystal than flesh. Of course, this is a spiritual successor to the Castlevania series. It's very well received out there in the gaming world, published by 505 Games, developed by Artplay, and this is one that I would have bought if it had landed at a sweeter price.
Yep.
And Tom, we talked pre-show about all these pro games. You've bought this one. Of course, but coming back into the fold with the podcast, it wouldn't be a pro game announcement day if you didn't own the majority of these titles already. So tell us about Ritual of the Night, Tom, your time with it. Would you recommend people check this out come January?
Absolutely. Particularly, as you said before, like fans of the Castlevania series, whether you have a history of playing things like Castlevania Symphony of the Night, if you do enjoy those Metroidvania type games in particular, or even if you're just somebody who may have casually just watched the anime on Netflix and really enjoy it, well worth checking out. It's considering the fact that it's coming to Pro is amazing, to be honest with you, because like you say, it's one of those titles really that I've not really seen go on sale very often. I was very hesitant myself to actually purchase it when it originally came to Stadia, because it was coming at a price point which was
£35, right?
Yeah, it was very much sort of like staple retail AA indie price, I would probably put it at. And it never really went down. Like, it's one of these games that you see that very, very rarely goes on sale. So it's very hesitant, but in the end I did buy it, and it plays like a dream. Now, for anybody who has delved way into the back catalogue of our podcasts, I do also own this on the Nintendo Switch, and on the Switch it kind of plays a little bit like ass. So to have now played it on Stadia, it's a much better experience. It's much cleaner, it's much slicker, it's nice, but yeah, Castlevania lovers, eat your heart out. It's brilliant game.
And we have had, not on Stadia, but we have had the Castlevania collection this year, so if you've got that itch but you want to play it, like you said, at a better performance in the cloud and in a new one, it's very well received. So go check that one out if you can, or when you can, I should suggest, because these announcements come, but we still have a while to wait till January. We've got to get Christmas out the way first. Christmas, Boxing Day, all those celebrations. But yes, great thing to kick things off. So we were teased with that initially as part of that was on day, I want to say 6. I think that was day 6 announcement. And then day 7 followed that up with another title. So another pro game confirmed and announced, and that is Darksiders 3. So we have now 2 of the Darkside games on the platform, but this one is the third entry, following on from number 2, which was also a pro game, still able to claim, if memory serves right. Return to an apocalyptic Earth in Darksiders 3, a hack-and-slash action-adventure where players assume the role of Fury in her quest to hunt down and dispose of the 7 deadly sins. The most unpredictable and enigmatic of the 4 horsemen, Fury must succeed where many have failed to bring balance to the forces that now ravage Earth. Darksiders 3 is the long-anticipated third chapter in the critically acclaimed Darksiders franchise. And I haven't played a Darksiders game yet still. I think come January I'll have access to 2 of the titles. And it's one of those where I've just never... It's one of those franchises where I question how it's got to a 3rd game, and I've never really seen or played or done much. Like, if you asked me what the type of game it was, I wouldn't have been able to tell you it was like a hack and slash adventure game.
Yeah.
And yet here we are. Is this one of your owned titles, Tom?
Yeah, naturally it is as well.
You have a problem.
I do. I really, really do. I'd love to actually be able to calculate how much I've literally spent on this platform.
If you look at the Stadia Pro monitor from InLead, I'm sure there's some filter in there. You could just go, I own this, and it'll just crunch the maths and transfer the funds directly out of your bank account. So Darksiders 3 then, give us the rundown.
Probably the one I've played the least, to be honest with you, out of all of them, but still follows the story of the overall arcing sort of franchise, I suppose. It is still a sequel to the other 2, but you play as one of the additional horsemen, Fury. New mechanics added to the game. Probably not as much content in this game as there is for 2, I would say. But it's still everything that you love with Darksiders, really. Like you said, the hack and slash goodness. For anybody who's never played it before, I think one of the things you could probably liken it to a little bit, in a very strange way, is sort of like a hellish Legend of Zelda. Bit of a strange way of labeling that, but yeah. Akin to kind of a bit like the old God of War games as well, I would say. Is another way of kind of thinking
that helps me visualize it a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Was it the definitive edition we got?
The definitive for number 2, yeah.
Yeah, Darksiders 2, that's such a terrible word.
Definitive.
Yeah, we did get it as part of Pro as well, because I do own it, so...
Yeah.
I do remember last time, it's a different... Did you play as Death in number 2? And then
you did.
So you're jumping around to a different attack.
War in the first one, Death in the second, and in this one you're playing as Fury.
So who will be in the 4th entry in the franchise, I wonder?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I actually, after buying 3, even though I bought it when it first came out, I then also went away and bought Darksiders Genesis as well.
Right.
For people who may have forgotten that game exists on Stadia as well.
It does, doesn't it? Was that one of those titles that never got a discount? I know we joked at the beginning about games that were always price full for such a long time. Like Attack on Titan is a game that I don't think to this day has had a price cut on Stadia.
Never been hit with a discount.
Even though it's top of the alphabet, it's the first game everybody sees in the store. It's in prime real estate. Maybe that's why they don't discount, because we're at the top of the pile, so everyone's going to see us first anyway. Tell you, if you want a game to do well, just title it like AAA. AAA game, insert title afterwards. Oh yeah, Genesis, of course. I forgot about that one. It's on sale right now. We'll get towards some sale conversation in a short while. But we've got more pro games to talk about. So throwing it over to the next one, slightly different pivot of a title. You've also got the ability to claim in January. Shantae Half Genie, is it? Risky's Revenge.
It is. That's correct.
Which is a Nintendo 2DS game. Remade. So this is the Risky's Revenge Director's Cut. Is a powder keg of high-octane, hair-whipping, hip-shaking action now available, featuring thousands of frames of animation, huge multi-sprite bosses, and a quest so big it's bursting at the seams. Guide the half-genie Shantae through haunted wastes, burning deserts, enchanted forests, dripping caverns, and deadly labyrinths, discovering magical attacks, brew zombie coffee, save golden babies, and master the art of belly dancing to transform Shantae into more powerful creatures. Now, this time, I think you were actually on the show when this was rated or announced before, because you've played these titles in years gone by. In my mind, this is very much Monster Boy. If it was on the Nintendo 2DS, obviously slightly older art style. But if it's enough to merit a director's cut, there's got to be something good about this game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of these franchises that I think I've said in the past before that a lot of people have seen but have never really delved into. But you're absolutely right when you think about that sort of like Monster Boy-esque level of gameplay. It very much embodies that. It's, there's a lot of like moving backwards and forwards between levels once you unlock certain abilities, certain powers, transformations, etc., to access new areas. But for those of you who may have played the first one, the Half Genie Hero, this is the supposed sequel. Again, against a character who's just seen throughout the franchise, Risky Boots. And it's an interesting one because we had the Half Genie Hero sort of remaster with the updated graphics, but then we've got Risky's Revenge, which is very much embodying that old school pixelated art style. Very, very different, but still a lot of the similar gameplay again. I'm kind of looking forward to trying it out now that it's pro. Definitely wouldn't have bought it prior to that.
Yeah, there's certain, I don't know, it's weird how you've got the nostalgia play for these style older games, which I think must have a big draw for a lot of people. But then there's certain elements that don't age very well. So I personally would prefer to have bought Kaze and the Wild Masks as opposed to this one, just because I think there's certain things. Whereas if it was Sonic, I've got so much nostalgia for a Sonic game. I would go like Mickey's House of Illusion or something. I've got so much more to pull on from that, or like the old Mario titles. But yeah, like you said, Monster Boy, you jump in through different forms. You can transform, which allows different reversal and enemy fighting mechanics. But again, fill your risky boots come January when you can claim this and play it for free. All of these little remake, remaster, reboot things do make me think that the franchise is probably gearing towards another entry.
Potentially, yeah.
Just, when you get that vibe when there's a remake and a remaster of a couple of things in a row, and it's either the developers rinsing the most they possibly can out of this IP, or they're testing the waters to see how people would respond to a new entry with like res modern graphics. So time will tell on that one. But very positive overall reviews on Steam, so check it out. And again, it's something different and nice to get. Probably plays really well on your phone as well.
Yeah, I could imagine so.
Because the screen it was originally on was probably smaller than your phone. Most people's phones now are like 6.5 inch upwards, so...
Yeah, I suppose one of the good benefits of it is you could use your touchscreen controls without having to worry too much about like your triggers and so on as well, if you could just hit it straight up D-pad and buttons.
Very true. Speaking of games, though, that do benefit hugely from touch input, Darkside Detective, we discussed on previous podcasts, is getting a special DLC this Christmas Eve. It's getting a special secret case mission added to the sequel to the Everphone original Darkside Detective. The sequel, however, Fumble in the Dark, the entire game is coming free to pro in January too. So,
what?
In a weird marketing thing, maybe don't buy it to play the extra case on Christmas Eve. If you hang fire just another week, you'll get the entire game for free. So, Darkside Detective, Fumble in the Dark, click and point adventure with Detective Dooley and McQueen. I was talking to Richie last week. I played this one with the wife and had an absolute great time doing the voices, trying to solve the puzzles, giving everyone a little bit of character. And I'm really, really looking forward to playing this one. I was going to play it over Christmas with us getting the Christmas DLC. However, now I'm just going to wait till January and pick it up for free on Pro. So it's great to see. I love a good point-and-click adventure game. It takes me way, way back to primary school with the Crystal Rainforest game, for anyone who can remember that. On the Acorn.
Unlocking memories.
Yeah. On we had Acorn PCs in our primary school. So not Apple, Acorn. And the mouse had one button. It was a one-click mouse. And yeah, Crystal Rainforest, what a point-and-click adventure that was on a floppy disk.
Amazing.
Throwback to our viewers and listeners out there. But yes, Darkside Detective. Have you checked either of these titles out yet? One or two?
I've not yet. No, this is one of the freshest games for me, I suppose, on this pro list. Really,
definitely recommend you check these out, especially with. I'd even recommend it with Holly. Just like sit down, get it on the TV, and just talk it out, talk about because the puzzles some are quite straightforward, some are a little bit more complex. But I just enjoyed the banter back and forth between the characters. Like the writing in these titles is the comedy is on point. There's a couple of references to pop culture and stuff in there, which it's cool when you see them. And I know the Christmas DLC that they've announced has a lot of references to like Christmas movies and Charles Dickens and stuff. So if you're in a festive spirit, you're in a mood for something that's not too hands-on. It's not like Destiny or something where you need to always be playing. Just chill out, lay back, hand the controller around, or point and click if you're at a PC.
I do need more of that.
Yeah, just more laid back.
Just chill games.
But that's not your last game. That is still not your final game, because just like with most months on Stadia Pro, the titles come thick and fast. So next up, and the final game, we should point out for now, unless this 12 days of Stadia just keeps dropping more. Actually, you know what? What are the chances, Tom, that the next few days on Stadia are the stuff that we've just been told in this blog post?
Oh.
What are the chances that day 8 is Risky's Revenge, day 9 is Darkside Detective, day 10 is the next story?
I hope they don't. But hey, by the time this episode comes out, people will already know.
You'll know. Let us know in the comments below if it did backfire on them, but we'll find out. Final game that is going pro, however, is Dreamworks Dragons. Which one is this? I forgot because there's so many variations.
Dawn of New Riders.
And we spoke post-show about this again. I haven't seen any of these movies based on the How to Train Your Dragon series / the Netflix show that then spawned off of that. But this is a story of fire and friendship that you won't forget. Meet your favourite DreamWorks Dragons characters like Hiccup, Astrid, Gobber, and more. Complete quests in locations like Valka's Mountain alongside a host of newly discovered islands such as Bloodbriar Island. Go up against fearsome boss dragons and defeat the dragon trappers who will stop at nothing to capture Patch. Unlock more of Patch's incredible hidden abilities to free captured dragons and stop Ia from carrying out her evil plans. Ia. Throughout your adventure, you'll discover there is one thing even stronger than the ultimate Chimera Dragon, the bond between a dragon and his rider. It's all about family, Tom. Family and relationships.
It is.
Now, I'm guessing this is like the Spyro the Dragon of this generation for kids.
So, you're close. You're very close.
I mean, the dragons give me a clue.
Do you remember in Spyro 3, the Sparks levels, those top-down sort of levels? This game is very similar to that, in that sort of like top-down view. You can play as either Scribbler or as Patch by switching through using like one of the left trigger buttons. Scribbler has his own set of abilities. He's got a weapon, he can attack, he can defend against and things like that. And then Patch has like long-ranged attacks and can solve puzzles. And that's essentially what this game is. It's progression through a story, fighting enemies along the way, and solving puzzles, all with a nice little How to Train Your Dragon skin on top of it.
Yeah, it's because this is the thing I've theorized a few. I know we spoke about a few times on this podcast, but not having children, and I know, pardon me, a lot of people kind of dismiss these titles. Outright Games doing tremendous work for family-friendly games out there as well. Like this doesn't do anything for me. However, I'm such a massive fan of Spyro the Dragon. The little guy sat up there above over my shoulder. But that's because I played that when I was the age demographic this is aimed at.
Yes.
So it's easy for me to just, as a 32-year-old man, go, dismiss it as a kid's game. But there's an audience of millions and millions of people out there. You're the father to someone who... you actually said pre-show that you stick this on in the background, and he loves it. Yeah,
we do. On Netflix, we put on a little bit of the Dragon series, and Josh just loves it. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's got to be an audience out there for it, and yeah, like you say, right? it could be establishing a future video game franchise right there for the kids of tomorrow to grow up and want to play more Dragons games for the future.
They love to get the Dreamworks in though, don't they?
They do, of course they do.
Trademark, copyright. That's marketing 101.
It's a bit cringy, that.
It is. Very positive reviews though overall from Climax Studios, and as I mentioned, another one from the Outright collection. You'll love to see the support coming, and that is your 5 Pro games for January. So at the time of listening, you'll be able to claim them. When does this go live? Monday the 27th? You've still got a while to wait, actually. We'll have another episode out by the time, 2 days into you claiming all these, so not long, but luckily you've got things like Christmas and family and Boxing Day to distract you whilst you wait. We do actually have some more Stadia news following on from the Pro Games, though, because that's not all. Our friends over at Stadia Source this week have picked up the fact that a game has just been rated for Stadia. None other than the most awkward name to say is a game title, My Hero One's Justice 2.
All those ones and twos.
All those ones and twos is arriving. It's the over-the-top smash hit 3D arena fighter, based on a hero. Did you say Hero Academia?
Yeah, My Hero Academia.
Right. I know not. This is where Richie
people will know what that is.
People will know where Richie comes in really useful.
Yeah.
Usually I would play a trailer in the show, but Bandai Namco love to copyright strike anything to do with anything they own. So I can't even visualize what it looks like for our viewers out there on YouTube. But essentially, it sounds like a 3D like Smash Mortal Kombat kind of like fighter system using the characters from the My Hero series. I don't have much to add to this other than it has been rated, so my guess is we'll probably see it come the turn of the year sometime.
Yeah.
If not sooner, it might be a special Christmas treat. Hell, it might be 12 days of Stadia Christmas promotion.
Maybe.
But this reminds me, watching the video trailer, it reminds me of the One Piece series, just based on the same kind of art style. And we found out a few weeks back when One Piece World Seeker came out with the franchise that Richie is like a massive One Piece fan and he watches all the series and all the episodes. And I've been his best mate for like 30 odd years. And even I didn't know he enjoyed to watch that, which is like, it blew my mind when he told me. So are you a closet One Piece, My Hero anime fan at all?
I'm quite into my anime. My Hero Academia is something that's never really crossed my path. A lot of like the kids that I teach are really into it. And I see a lot of references to it around the school with things like, people wearing badges and patches and stuff like that on their bags. And whenever I talk to them about anime, they usually bring it up. But I don't know whether I've just like missed the boat on that. But yeah, it's got a huge following at the moment. It's sort of like akin to the I suppose like the levels of Dragon Ball Z and Naruto is what I would say for this sort of current generation.
That's what I theorized with Richie, why I missed the boat, because Dragon Ball and everything was on Cartoon Network, and in my household growing up, we didn't have cable until a few years later when it I don't know when it became more accessible. So I had like your terrestrial TV channels. So I was all about like Pokemon and stuff on ITV, BBC One, like those shows. And everyone out there who had Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, they all like had a whole different world of TV to watch. And I think I missed the Dragon Ball Z boat, which then had a knock-on effect for probably a lot more anime, which everything about my life would point towards I should really enjoy it and be into it. But then again, there's only so many hours in the day, isn't there? So
exactly,
you can only spend it. And I was saying to Richie last week, I've been back on the Pokemon hype train anyway. So I finished Sword now, finished off with my Dynamax and fight. I've saved the Galar region, also known as the UK, from destruction. So I've done it. I got my Farfetch'd evolution.
Excellent.
He has a leek sword. He's badass. I have a Weezing who's got a top hat and a monocle, which I just like these these Britishisms that they bring into play with it. But shout out to Pokemon again. Not that we'll ever see it on Stadia. However, one thing we will see, Tom, and second last news story for the week before we get into our Game of the Year discussion. It is, at the time of recording, Assassin's Creed Day, which I did not know was a thing until today. Everything has a day, and there's not been any announcements, no major news. I know last week we covered all the big Valhalla news. Excited for that, Tom? You're a big Nordic mythology Valhalla fan.
I am.
35 more hours of Asgardian warfare.
Keep it coming. Just keep shoveling it in.
I'm loving it. Like it's the whole way they're working is crazy. In Assassin's Creed, me and Richie checked out the crossover event. We went back and played Odyssey.
Yes.
Which is like, we didn't expect to be going back to that. And now there's something in the air now, because I tweeted out last week saying actually my favourite of the new 3 trilogies is Origins. Partially because I think I'm just a bigger fan of Egyptian mythology rather than the other two. Partially because I think sun-soaked sand and temples and pharaohs and hieroglyphics, it makes for a gorgeous looking video game. And I think that's why
compared to looking
Odyssey.
Over the green plains of England.
Yeah, I mean, I look out my window and I see green pastures and such in terrible weather. So yeah, Odyssey and Valhalla, they just had something a little bit more, maybe like adventure for me. Obviously, I'm sure it's different for different people. And I tweeted out saying I would love to see more Origins content, because it is the origins of the Assassins, the literal creed. Origins are in that game. That's the whole point of it. And they tweeted out as part of Assassin's Creed Day that, in fact, Assassin's Creed Origins, they are looking to potentially add 60 frame support for Origins. Stay tuned. Which now has all the cogs in my head thinking, with these crossover stories, plural, we should point out, stories, I could see Origins being brought back into the fold with more seasonal content and stuff as we push towards the long-rumoured Assassin's Creed Infinity.
Wow.
I think Valhalla, Odyssey, Origins are all going to be put into some kind of massive Assassin's Creed universe, which is then going to pull on older iterations as they probably... Because let's face it, Tom, they're inevitably going to work their way back to Ezio at some point. They're not just going to let him rest in peace. Like, even Altair, of all the games we've had remakes and remasters for, the original is still outstanding. It's only a matter of time, right, before these all get boosted up and up-resed.
Absolutely.
And as an Origins fan, and as a massive fan of things like the Ezio trilogy and the original with Altair, I'm all for it. It's one of my favourite franchises of all time. And, give me that 60 frames. We know... Is it Odyssey or Valhalla that got patched on Stadia recently? I can never remember now. So much news.
It was Valhalla.
So they're just working their way back, Ubisoft, going through all these titles. So yeah, we'll see. So not much news from Assassin's Creed Day. No sequel to the Michael Fassbender movie, unfortunately, announced. Nothing like that. I'm sure this is due a Netflix series at some point in the next half a decade as well.
Yes, it is.
I mean,
that's right.
Just look at how well The Witcher's doing.
Yep.
Witcher 3. You checked out Witcher 3 yet so far? You're fully through?
Most of the way through. We're currently on episode 7 of season 2.
Okay, I think I'm on about 5, so no spoilers here, folks. Don't worry. But yeah, toss a coin to your Netflix subscription and get those watched this festive season. Final news story for the week before we delve into our Game of the Year news is that the Embracer Group, they didn't want to round out the new year, the financial year, without going and acquiring more and more stuff. We only really cover these on the show because they seem to absorb things that are related to Stadia. Of course, they have THQ Nordic under their umbrella. They acquired Gearbox, who make Borderlands 3 and stuff in the last year. And they rounded out the year by acquiring a company I'd never heard of before, quite frankly, Perfect World Publishing Group, collectively known as Perfect World Entertainment, for a eye-watering, I've lost it, $125 million US, which is insane. And some of the stuff they work on within that franchise, they've got a bunch of games. Probably the most popular one that I picked out of the list was probably Star Trek Online, just celebrating its 10th anniversary. Neverwinter is another title that was in there. Dungeons and Dragons titles in the Torchlight series, as well as Remnant from the Ashes, which is, I know, a well-revered game on other platforms. But yeah, Tom, Embracer, they're just relentless.
Yeah, like I say, eventually they'll buy up the podcast as well. At some point, it's inevitable. It's just this ever-growing mass of everything that's just absorbing. It's like Katamari Damacy, just like rolling the big ball and collecting everything. It's the Embracer Group just going through the games industry.
Everything's sticking to the wall. At one point, does somebody need to step in and regulate this? Because I'm pretty sure Tencent acquired someone this week as well. And there's just all of these shell companies which sound it's either a massive tax evasion or they've got grand schemes of working their way into the American
global
games
domination
industry by just buying up shares, because it's all weird, because Tencent are obviously the Chinese one who don't like to play well with the West, and yet Sony have shares in Tencent, if I recall, and Tencent have shares in Epic, and Epic's like a massive American, and it's all weird.
It gets messy.
It does get messy. And then obviously they hide it by being the umbrella company as well. So they don't even put out games. They have like shell companies within companies, pardon me, who put out these games. And yeah, it's just, and their catalogue of titles obviously spans decades now. They picked up old IP, new IP, remasters, reboots, new franchises. But yeah, I guess another move for Embracer. We might see a Star Trek game reboot. I didn't realise Star Trek Online was a year old, 10 years old, to be fair. A decade of Star Trek Online. Shout out to those games. You have a very dedicated audience. And then final one for the week, folks, before we get into our Game of the Year. Just a quick one. If you're in the US, check your emails, because apparently everybody, or most people, lapsed Stadia Pro users and some who are already on Stadia Pro, been given a month free. Pardon me.
Okay.
Not as stateside. Doesn't look like the Canadians. Anyone else in Europe? I've checked my emails. Nothing for Christmas.
Not yet, Chris. Not yet.
We're just getting a lump of coal, Tom. That's what we get.
Yeah.
Which back in the day, a lump of coal for Christmas would have probably been quite good to stick it on the fire during the cold winter months.
Just get all the coal from all your family. Is that why people had like 8 or 9 kids? To get more coal?
More coal. It's like Tooth Fairy, and more teeth you get knocked out, the richer you are. It makes sense. Then you reinvest and stuff. Speaking of teeth, actually, I've got a wisdom tooth coming through here.
Lovely.
I had one last year. Fast forward an entire other year, and this other one's coming through just in time for Christmas. We're getting to that point where everything I eat now is getting irritable on this side. Fun? And I'm trying to think to myself, like, there's not any room left in my mouth. I have a slight lisp as it is. That's not going to help filling more teeth in there. How have we not evolved to a point where, like sharks, we just lose our teeth every 10 years and then get some new shiny ones come through? How handy would that be?
On a complete side note, did you know that some people actually, their wisdom teeth grow in literally horizontally rather than coming up? Yeah, some people do. So that's one to keep you awake at night.
Well, the right one was fine. So I'm hoping this one's just going to mirror the other one. Now I'm worried about some from the top, because apparently you get 4, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just glad they haven't came all at once. I don't think I could cope with that pain. But we digress, folks. Don't forget your dentist appointments, kids. It's important. The main point of the show, Tom, what we're here for, episode 118. We're rounding out.
It's pulling teeth.
It's pulling teeth. We are rounding out the year 2021. It's been a long one. It's been a crazy one. It's had its ups. It's had its downs for many, many reasons. And hopefully on the horizon is a nice, fresh start of 2022. And I, for one, am looking forward to it. I like the fact that it's 2-2. Something sits visually with 2022 better than 2021. I don't know about you. I just like the way the number writes out on paper or type. I like that. It's a big year. We've got weddings to go to celebrate, to revel in.
Yes.
We'll hopefully be allowed to go abroad on holiday. I'd love to see some actual sunshine.
Keep some fingers crossed.
Outside of British weather, fingers crossed. And hopefully, the world can start to heal from what has been 2 years now. 2 years.
I know.
Which is insane. It dawns on us every time we sit here and talk about all of the games and get away from it all. 118 episodes. It's going good. 118. But Tom, you're here. Richie's not here, which it doesn't matter. He doesn't get a vote then in our game of the year.
Oh.
We might give him a little vote. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll get him to write
put
the show.
Put a little Richie in the corner. Just a little Richie in the corner.
There's already one below us actually, running in the snow. I've added him in for
Richie.
this week. Yeah, that's me. I don't know why I'm pointing at me. Little Richie in the corner. But let's start things off then. So viewers out there, we've broken it down to a few categories. We're not going to go into all like the best audio design and best accessibility because like cards on the table. We haven't played all these games. We have finite funds. We also have not that much time in our adult lives, but we'll talk, we'll theorise, we'll give our best nods and our votes and stuff. So to kick things off, Tom, I want to go into the best Stadia Pro game of 2021, as voted for by us. There's no ballots, it's just us talking about them and reminiscing about the 2021 we've just had. Because traditionally, we would do this show and have no news to talk about. But thankfully, we've had 40-odd minutes of pro games to talk about. So that's actually really beneficial for us. However, I've listed some of the, in my mind, the biggest titles of the year. We've got Little Nightmares 2, Jedi Fallen Order, Resident Evil 7, Biohazard, Control Ultimate Edition, Mafia 3, threw that one in there as a joke, and Dirt 5. Or any you want to bring to the table yourself. Any immediately jump out to you and be like, there's a hands down winner, or what are we thinking?
Okay. Best Stadia Pro game.
Yeah.
I feel like the best that we've received on Pro. Oh man. So I'm immediately drawn towards Control Ultimate Edition personally. Okay. Namely, number one, because of how you felt about it in the past, how you've talked about it in the past. It is a very good game and it looks very good in the cloud. I don't necessarily believe that it, like, historically I would have said Jedi Fallen Order, but I feel like it's been too long now for that.
Okay.
So I'm sort of like putting Jedi Fallen Order a little bit on the back burner there a little bit. Fantastic game though. Again, folks, it's incredible that we got that on Pro, but I feel like that ship has sailed a little bit on it.
Would you believe me if I told you Control came out before Jedi Fallen Order?
That's insane. I don't believe you. I don't believe you for a second.
I'm pretty sure September 2019 was Control, and I think Jedi Fallen Order came out in November 2019.
But we received Control as a later Pro game,
yes,
right?
True. Yes,
yeah. Okay. So that's where I'm sort of coming from the pro game perspective. Is that to me, Control is a newer title for me to play because I'd never played Control the first time around. But am I doing it just to sort of keep up with the Joneses, like the fact that how you felt about it?
Yeah,
when we talked about this before.
It's an odd one for me because like looking at it, I totally agree with you. Control, one of my favourite games of the last few years. The Ultimate Edition is obviously all the DLC with the Alan Wake content, which has me in high hopes for Alan Wake Remastered making its way over to us before we get the inevitable sequel that they announced at the Game Awards. So there's something there, but Jedi Fallen Order, I can't get away from the fact that we got it in May. We had it in time for May the 4th, and I was saying to Richie on last week's show, as a Star Wars fan, giving us that game for free on Pro on the month where Star Wars is celebrated across May the 4th, when every other platform, yes, there was discount stuff, but to give it to us for free on May the 4th, I think was just like the perfect combination. And I think that for me is what pushes it a little bit above Control. Both undoubtedly games of the year and fantastic AAA quality titles. But I feel like that little Star Wars... But then I'm a Star Wars fan, and we both are, so it's...
Yeah. You make a really good argument, though, for that.
Any defense? Obviously, Little Nightmares 2. I don't think it's going to win.
Nah.
But shout out to the fact that we got a day and date.
Yeah.
Like everyone else went and paid £25 for it. We got it for free.
Yeah.
Which is
it's
phenomenal.
It warrants a mention. Absolutely.
It's just unfortunately not Star Wars or Control.
Yeah. Do you know what? I have actually played a little bit of Dirt 5 as well, and it is a decent game. It is a decent game, but it came out at a time where I don't really think, apart from the diehard racing community, think there was a lot of other stuff going on, really.
Yeah, well, we got it later on Stadia as well, so I do feel like the hype that came in the November up on launch everywhere else dies down a little bit. Great, then it came to the platform in March. Great. Yeah. All your car enthusiasts jumped on that. And then credit where credit's due, it came on Pro within the same year of launch, so we got a game that had been out less than a year for free with your Pro subscription. But I think, unlike IGN, who gave 4 to 5 their game of the year, part of me thinks because it's a motorsport and I'm not a diehard fan of motorsport, it lessens it for best pro game for me. And I'm sure people could come on here who are like massive racing fans and be like, well, actually, it's the best racing game to date. And I'm sure it is for a lot of people, but this is the same reason I would never vote for FIFA, I would never vote for Formula 1, I would never vote for PGA, because I think sports titles inherently, there's nothing about
they fall into a sports category.
Outside of the sport, there's no story, there's no, and again, that's what I play games for, but this is why it's all subjective. So,
but Resident Evil 7 was
that
also...
was a moment as well. Resident Evil 7, we had an absolute blast playing that.
It was beautiful.
And as someone who's like not traditionally a horror fan, playing it with you guys on stream has kind of opened the door to a whole new category of games that I would love to play.
Yeah.
Give me 2 and 3 next year, please, Stadia, and then the 4 remake, which is inevitably going to come out at some point next year. Could you imagine if we go into like March, Stadia, you get Resident Evil 2 remake for free, and then 2 months later, we get 3 for free, and then Resident Evil 4 remake, which I don't think's officially been announced yet, but it's so heavily rumored it's got to happen. Comes out in like the late autumn time for
the VR version of Resident Evil 4 is out now as well.
Yes, that's getting loads of plaudits as well for best VR game of the year.
Yeah.
Yes, I love Biohazard, but I feel like I've got that. Oh man, I've got that Star Wars pull.
Yeah, you're selling me on that now as well. I'm struggling because Control. Yeah, I sort of feel like I have to default this to Jedi Fallen Order now on the basis that I had this gut feeling that Control for me is mostly coming from a place where you felt so strongly for it when we put it up against Jedi Fallen Order previously. But I think considering the timing of it, I think you're absolutely right. I think Jedi Fallen Order, and as far as I'm aware as well, again, it was the first platform that the game went free to play on as well. So this is like before it went to Game Pass.
Yeah.
As like as a platform where you can get the game in its entirety for free and you keep it. So yeah, screw it. Let's go for it. Jedi Fallen Order.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, our best Stadia Pro game of 2021. And even just with those games, if next year's list is equivalent or like on par with that, I'll be a very happy boy.
Yeah.
Next year. I don't know what they're going to pull out their ass for it. Mafia 2 maybe. We might see that in the next few hundred days. I've not given you an update in a while, Tom. I actually stopped doing it on the podcast because we got Mafia 3 and they thought that would silence us. But I'm not, because Mafia Definitive Edition has been out now for 450 days on other platforms. And they gave us 3 as Pro. Congratulations. Thank you, Hangar 13. We're still waiting on 2 and 1. You promised us 2 and 1, but that's why you're not getting Stadia Pro Games.
What are you playing at? Come on.
What are you playing at? It's almost getting... That joke we made at the start saying we've been covering Stadia for 4 years, 2019, 2021 and 22. We'll be able to make that joke about this game soon, where the Mafia Definitive Edition will have been announced in 2020. It's now 2021 and 2022. It's been 3 years, technically, almost. But we digress. Moving on, we've got a category for Best Stadia Feature. We have Direct Touch, the search bar, and the Explore tab getting a refresh on Stadia.
Okay.
I'm sure if there's anything more you want to throw in there, but I feel like it's been not a quiet year, but there's not been many, because we've had crossplay and everything kicked off last year. It's great, but I don't feel like we've seen that much more implementation. We've had like Pixel Jump Raiders came out and it was like, oh great, state share still works, but outside of like Dead by Daylight and voting for your killers, I don't think all these Stadia unique features have been implemented as much as they really could have done. So
yeah,
not much to pull on. Feel free to let us know in the comments if there's anything we missed out. It's hard to figure out what came out when now without doing masses of research, because like we said at the beginning of the show, time is so funny right now. I can't remember what came out 2020, 21 or anything. So
I also sort of like don't necessarily feel like a lot of the current states of certain features are actually being utilized to the way that they originally intended them to be. Like, again, I still don't feel like those voting features are very chat friendly for live streams. But that aside, out of the three that we've got here, Direct Touch, Search Bar, or the update to the Explore tab, I feel like by default it has to be the search bar, but I don't like claiming it as the best Stadia feature, so to speak, because I don't really feel like it warrants being called the, like, you know, winning an award, so to speak.
Yeah.
It should just be a damn... It was so necessary. It was so necessary that...
It's still... I don't even know if it's still rolled out to everybody yet. Have you got it on your app?
Yeah. Oh, no, I've definitely got it. Definitely got it.
On mine now?
Used it earlier.
Yeah, it is on mine now. Yeah, it wasn't last week when I checked, so it's there in the store. I'm going to make a case for the Direct Touch.
Okay.
Purely because we got Humankind this summer.
Yeah.
And with good optimization, I think it could open the door for much more titles in terms of variety. So I think I've been a big advocate of us getting some more RTS-style strategy games. I love Planet Coaster, Jurassic World Evolution. I've tweeted at Frontier many times now, saying bring us those type of games. And even this very week, as we record this, 100 Days is going through Stadia testing right now for touch input. So I've been able to, alongside the Iron Apple DLC they just released, so get your sun-dried tomatoes out in California and jump back in with that one.
I'm going to throw another one out there, and it's not necessarily a feature per se, but it was actually an update quite recently to the Stadia app, because I felt for the longest time, as somebody who has, you know, 100 and probably at this point 140 plus games on Stadia, that the UI on the app really started to get ridiculously slow. But a recent update, and all of a sudden everything just loads quite slick now. I can just scroll all the way down, and then bam, everything's updated. So kudos to the dev team behind the app there. I think you've done a great job actually getting that up to speed. Now it's starting to feel a little bit more usable. But yeah, Direct Touch, I think it's a great idea. I think it really opens up the usability of Stadia, really, particularly for people who are playing on the go on their phone and playing those RTS or just general strategy type games. It's definitely one that I think will see a lot of benefit in the future, depending on the types of game that come to the platform.
Well, I think that's for me. That's the biggest thing. It's like the search bar is great, but it's more. Yeah. It's an irony that it wasn't there from the beginning. The Explore tab, I can see where they want to go with it, but it definitely needs some more social tweaks. It needs to be made into more of a social platform with comments, likes, shares, as opposed to just follow this person. Here's all of the screenshots and videos. Like you need more of a back and forth for people to utilize it for what it is intended to be. Ideal. Like it's great that I can see and follow and watch your videos, but let me comment on them. Let me like say, oh, that was an awesome goal, an awesome kill. Like, oh, that headshot was sick. Like, let me do that, and then
make it more sociable
back and forth. Yeah, that makes much more sense. So, direct touch. Congratulations. I hope we see it on more games.
You take it.
We take it, yeah. Moving on to our next category, best ongoing game. Now, this might be one, Tom, where you're able to throw some more in, but I've just pulled on the big boys. Destiny 2, of course, celebrating the Witch Queen content in the turn of the year. Division 2, just recently announced they've delayed their Year 2 content later into 2022, but the game was pretty much done and finished until Ubisoft went, hang on a minute, everyone seems to like Division 2.
People still play this?
To it. Yeah.
Let's go.
PUBG, about to go free-to-play in the new year as well, so some big moves happening for PUBG. New maps and content as well. Hitman, World of Assassination. I think shout out to Hitman. They obviously dropped the third entry in the series before moving on to their James Bond project. But not only that, I think they did a great job of bringing 1, 2, and 3 into one complete package that runs seamlessly in the same engine across all 3 titles, which I don't think any game's ever done that before. So the fact that they do that, and then they've added all the 7 Deadly Sins content as well, and they've already announced that they're going to support it with more content, I think it's, if you're after that tactical espionage, assassination action, I don't think it gets much better than Hitman for that type of game. And while we wait on this new Splinter Cell game, that's probably a good 5 years out, we ain't getting a Metal Gear Solid game anytime soon from Kojima or maybe Konami. I think they've gone radio silent.
Yeah.
I think that's a great... It's not your traditional ongoing game, but I think it's in with a shout. And then I've listed other because lots of games are ongoing games now.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's any you want to throw in the mix.
I'd throw out the Elder Scrolls Online on there as well. Recently they've had the Blackwood DLC, bringing back, particularly for fans of like the Oblivion game as well. There's a big chunk of DLC that they've added there for, exploring the Oblivion gates and getting back into that realm there. But
it's a hard
I'm going to go
right?
ahead. Nah, not for me. For me, I jump straight in and say Destiny 2. I think it's still, out of all of those games, I would say it's the most visually stunning game, considering the age of it, considering what they've done with it. Bungie have just celebrated their 30th anniversary as well as a company, and have really sort of like thrown it back with throwbacks to the original Destiny game, weapons from it. They've gone back and they've even added weapons from Halo. Obviously, Bungie used to be, to Destiny 2 as well, and they've even added a game show mode to for people to mess around in for the anniversary too. For me personally, I think Destiny 2 is going to win this, hands down. I think all the others are doing an incredible job, like you say, of being ongoing titles. Very impressed with what Hitman have been doing in particular, with what IOI have been doing for that.
I would happily agree with you there. I'm not someone who generally plays. Is it like played the Division start to finish, loved it, but again, I'm very much a story-driven game, so I go back to it occasionally, just like we go back to PUBG on stream. I delve into Hitman occasionally. Elder Scrolls was never for me, but from an outside perspective, I cannot deny Bungie's work and graft, and I think the commitment to, it was like a 10-year plan upon launch.
Yes.
They're now probably well over halfway through that plan, and it's still in weekly news stories. The content drops, the player base. It's still there. It's there. It's like you said. It's like a second job. You joked at the beginning of the show, but we have friends who literally their gaming time is dedicated to this game and this game alone, and new content. It looks beautiful, like you said. I'm a bit out of my depth when it comes to it now. Like jumping in is so convoluted for me.
Well, the thing is, as well, with these games, they're taking all of the old content and they're sort of like archiving it now as well. So the problem you've got with, because of this persistently growing world, a lot of the older stuff is now sort of like being not necessarily locked away. You can still access it, but it's not so accessible for a new player. We've got a brand new DLC, like full expansion coming out at the start of the new year as well, the Witch Queen, which the current season has been building up towards as well. I think this season has been the longest Destiny 2 season as well, in terms of the length of it, because obviously each is broken up where you get your season pass, but this one has been freaking huge. But yeah, they're constantly still refreshing it and adding more and more. And each of these seasons, they're still adding weekly story to that season. It's not like just because it's 9 months long or so on that it's going to go stale after after a couple of weeks. They keep adding stuff throughout it to progress and prepare us for the next expansion. So for me, without a doubt, Destiny 2.
Great stuff. I think that one of the best things they did was get away from Activision. Could you imagine if this was still under the Activision umbrella with everything that's going on there right now? Whew. Get out while you still can. But yeah, so I think I'm happy giving that to Destiny 2. I'm excited to see where it goes. And as with most of these games, I just really wish there wasn't a 2 on the end of it. There's something about which is like, if only it was called like Destiny Universe or Destiny Horizons or something like that, and then they could just add to it forever. Like Fortnite is just Fortnite. It's not Fortnite 2, Minecraft 2. There's just something like really particular that bugs me about the number sequels that never end. But we digress. Congratulations, Destiny 2, for best ongoing game. Of course, on Stadia. All those titles are on the platform. And next up, Tom, bit of an awkward category, quite frankly. Most anticipated Stadia game for 2022. And the reason it's a little bit awkward is we don't really know what's coming outside of Rainbow Six Extraction from Ubisoft, coming right at the turn of the year, and some point in 2022 we think Avatar Frontiers of Pandora from Ubisoft also. I guess we can probably throw in there, Tom, Just Dance 2022, and
easily.
What else has Ubisoft got on the cards for next year? I can't think off the top of my head. Either way, for games announced, we know nothing of Warner Brothers' stake in Stadia. We know nothing now from EA's future endeavours with the platform, Activision, Epic, Fortnite. I
feel like we could be getting My Hero 1's Justice 2 in 2022.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, anything that's not out now that we've just talked about, I guess. But it's a tough one because again we can look to other platforms as we do, and I glance over at my PlayStation 5 and think, well, next year I am playing Horizon Forbidden West. I'm playing God of War Ragnarok. And if I want FIFA, that's definitely coming next year to my PS5. I've got the Uncharted Thieves Collection in the new year to play. And that's not even factoring for any announcements we get to drop through the course of the year. And yet we are at that realization moment of we're on the cusp of 2022, and the well looks quite dry for the start of like if we're looking into January, February, March, April, May. Chorus was the last big game that we really knew of that wasn't Ubisoft. And I know we'll get indie games, like that's a fact. Like that's all said, easier said than done. Most anticipated game Stadia for 2022. I don't really know what to say. I don't really want to.
Sky Climbers.
I mean, if they make it out 2022, we don't know. It's true. Crowdfunded, right? So that could go on for. Just look at what's the one with Mark Hamill that's been in development for 10 years. Star Citizen. So that's crowdfunding can go one or two ways. We shall see. This is probably the biggest one for me. Is let us know in the comments below what your most anticipated game is for 2022, because out of Rainbow Six Extraction and Avatar, I can't really pick one that's on this platform. I think this has to be one of those categories where I'm voting for it for the sake of voting for one, like politicians. Really, I'm voting for the sake of casting a vote for my.
Do you know what? Yeah, we'll get onto that in a moment. Where we've got a category coming up that I'll save it for. I'm not gonna drop it now. I'll wait. I'll wait.
If there's anything we've missed, I'm sure there's one or two AAA games that not even AAA games, just anticipated game. But yeah, I have no clue. This one is one for the future. Maybe next year. Look out for this category when we do Game of the Year 2022, because the games we can't list right now hopefully will be in it. But swiftly moving on, Tom. Stadia's Indie Game of the Year, because we've got some absolute bangers for this one. Just to throw it on the list really quickly from me, Pixel Junk Raiders, Wavetail, Merrick's Market, Kaze and the Wild Mask, The Falconeer, and Super Animal Royale to recently drop on the platform. There's probably some I'm missing, so feel free to fill in some blanks. That was just a few off the top of my head when I was pulling the list together. I'm sure Richie would have brought a few of his before he decided not to show up for work today. But yeah, anything stand out for you this year on the indie front?
I think from the list that we've got there, I'm just trying to think of other games at the same time that have come out. But from the list there, I think
100 Days I've added on there.
Yeah, 100 Days. Yeah. From what we've got listed there so far, I think the one that stands out to me the most is going to be Wavetale. I was actually really, really surprised by that game. Like really, really pleasantly surprised by it. I was not expecting it to come. I didn't know anything about it. When it dropped, and jumped into it, and actually, do you know what? It was good. It was good. I don't really have anything to say to it other than I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with Wavetale. It was one of those titles where we got it as a stealth drop. It was announced it's like exclusive to Stadia as a Stadia first title, so nobody else in the world was playing it. I think it might have got a PC release actually, but other than that, console only. Pardon me.
Yeah.
And did a first look on it. It's available on the channel now. I had a great kind of first hour playing it, and then unlike some first looks when you kind of go, right, there's the content for the channel, I kept playing, and I played it on the Razer Kishi, played it on the TV, and I just kept going. And it was one of those like palate cleanser games, I would say, where it wasn't too strenuous at all. It was nice and relaxing. The music in it, the story was quite fun and whimsical, and I think more than anything, the traversal was what just sold me on the game. And I alluded to it talking with Richie about the title before, but the traversal reminded me of how easy it was to move around in Spider-Man for the PlayStation, Insomniac Spider-Man. Just the ease of gliding on the water, jumping up and grappling onto a hook point, and the double jump. And like that girl's got some strength in them legs because she can leap over houses if you do a double jump. And like overall, like the traversal mixed in with the story and the art style's beautiful. And I think it must have just hit at the right time where, it's 100% my Stadia indie game of the year. So I'm definitely in agreement with that. Shout out to Super Animal Royale. I had a great time playing that with Richie in the community last week.
I enjoyed watching that.
Great fun. Not that much substance to, like, again, it's one I'll go back to and I had fun, but it's not my game of the year. Shout out to 100 Days as well. That was great.
Yeah.
Again, I'm looking forward to really, really trying that with touch controls because I think it's one of those style games where sitting back, swiping your cards in, naming your vineyard, naming your wines and stuff. I think it could very much work on a tablet really, really well with touch input. Yeah. Other than that, I didn't play Kazuya Wild Mass because I didn't want to pay £25 for it. Sorry. And I'm very much sure it's going to come to Pro at some point. Pixel Junk Creators ended up being quite disappointing for me. I expected more from it from a renounced indie studio who've made some banging hits in the past. Bit disappointed. Enjoyed the stage share aspect of it, but the game just felt empty to me.
Absolutely.
Music was great. Gameplay was okay, but then it just started to get repetitive and it lost its fun element very, very quickly, which was a shame. But we'll see. So, are you happy with Wavetale, Tom?
Yeah, I'm just going through my list again just at the moment just to see if there's anything that sticks out to me for other games too. I don't really think there's much else on the list that I can pick out. But yeah, there's a couple of other indie titles that we had. Moonlighter came out this year. But again, I think from what we've got listed right there, I would say Wavetale, hands down. There's nothing else that's really stuck out that clearly to me.
Yeah, I mean, when you compare it, we got Floor Kids, we got like that.
Yeah.
What was that? Football, Street Power,
Football Pro something.
So you're talking, you enjoyed Unto the End on the platform.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
enjoyed Unto the End. I got really frustrated with it though. My word, doing the first.
We got Grime as well.
Grime was a good one as well. Yeah, very different to Wavetale, but yeah, shout out to Grime. That's definitely got a place. But I think Wavetale kind of just ticked all the boxes for me at the right time as well. And if all you need to do is glance at social media to see that a lot of people agree with that as well. So shout out to Wavetale. Hopefully it'll get some more love once it eventually goes to wider platforms too. But let's quickly move on to some of our viewers and listeners' games of the year. We ask people to write into the show, as we always do every week, and they can do on our Discord server. I'm just going to get it up now. Discord. Over on YouTube, Two-Bag Groton said Assassin's Creed Odyssey for him during lockdown earlier this year, not being able to do anything. Beautiful ancient Greece. Always was like vacations for me and my girlfriend. The game is great in its own right, but the beautiful, sunny, warm environment design is the best about it for me. Echoing kind of what I said about why I loved Origins so much. So it's interesting how we use video games as escapism, and being on lockdown, not allowed to go on holiday or venture the world. It's interesting seeing how much video games have probably filled that little bit of a gap that we were so sorely missing. New Game Guy Time writes in to YouTube as well and says Wavetail came out of absolutely nowhere and landed first on Stadia Pro. Fluid character movement, soothing music, and fascinating ocean setting made for a terrific one-of-a-kind experience. This was Stadia's big gift to its fans this year. Good one there. Jin Hood echoes the same sentiments, writes in and says Wavetail because it was such a pleasant surprise. It's beautiful, runs buttery smooth on 4K 60. It is a great story with a decent voice acting, but we got that gem for free with Pro, which is fantastic. So again, Wavetail getting a lot of love there. A2Z Chiller writes in and says it's between Sage and Super Animal Royale. Both are great for a quick game or two, so it looks like someone's torn between the decision. And Andy Hall writes in and says so many, but I have to give a shout out to Super Animal Royale. With crossplay, cross-save, and soon-to-be cross-party, Stadia has to be the best platform to play it on, simply due to the versatility, anytime, anywhere. I have my account linked with PlayStation, but I only play it on Stadia.
Okay,
so that's a good job, focusing more on, I think, accessibility.
Yes.
Which is something that's maybe not always spoke about with Game of the Year, but he makes some great points there about actually...
Definitely.
If you can play it anywhere, why would you not play them in the most convenient of places to make it the best? Let's jump over then. So that was the YouTube write-ins. Jump over to
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Assassin's Creed, coming from Super Fox in our Discord chat. It says, Valhalla for me. Very first time I purchased the game on Stadia, and I'm still playing it today. Complete immersion. Whenever I play, I can either run around, look at pretty things, or I can do side quests without stressing to do anything. Can't wait for the Ragnarok expansion. I think it's the most played single-player game I've ever played, and I've been playing games since the Spectrum days.
Wow, that's huge credential there. So that's huge. Bigs it up.
That is indeed. That is a long lineage, and as someone who's also put 130 plus hours into Valhalla. Yeah, I can totally attest to that. That's great. That's a good solid shout there from Super Fox. Kumnar, obviously one of our members on the channel, writes in and says, got to be one of the Resident Evils. Both are eligible, right? Your Game of the Year, Kumnar, can be anything you want it to be. It can be this year, last year, could have came out in 1989 for all we care. It's your Game of the Year, my friend. So Resi 7 or Village. Have you got a preference of the two, Tom? If you were to pick one of those two?
Yeah, I think I'd be more inclined to say 7, to be honest with you. Biohazard. I
would too, actually. I think the story was more tight. I enjoyed The Big Lady, don't get me wrong. And I enjoyed House Benevento with that creepy goop baby. Scared the shit out of me. But yes, I think 7 was just such a tight story. It worked well.
To me, it was that. It was the whole sequence in the house for me, just like everything to do with that cabin and the family. Just
Jack chasing you around. Simon, the famous fabled alpaca, also writes in on Discord and says, at the minute, I'm going to say Wavetail. The story, the art style, and music were all so good. Travelling around the islands was fun, especially with all the cannons that you can utilise. It's a game I didn't expect to like, but I ended up loving it. Nothing too taxing. You can just load it up and chill. So Wavetail hitting home for a lot of people. I don't know whether it's just recency bias or it genuinely is one of the hit surprises of the year. QBA PL17 writes in and says, Hitman 3, although I played it on a different platform from what I played on Stadia, probably Wavetail. So again, you got AAA, you got Wavetail shout out there as well. And what have I missed any there? Let's see if I missed any. Bethlin writes in as well, and he says, love the genre, stars Humankind.
Okay.
Was that right? Am I getting that right? I've scrolled past so many now. I think I'm lost in my own. Because some people wrote in on the general thread, and some people wrote it on the podcast questions thread. And now I'm wary. I don't want to miss anybody out. Admiral, Far Cry 6. If it was a bit cheaper, but finishing Far Cry 5. Millions of other Stadia games to play. I think that's the problem being a gamer when you get free games every month. It's how do you pick a game of the year when there's so many.
Absolutely.
I've not missed.
You never get time to get through them all.
Not many I've missed, I don't think.
No.
Who said Humankind? Someone said humankind.
Yeah.
If
we did miss it, though, guys.
It's because I put a thread out on YouTube and then I put a thread out on Discord to try and get some more in. But we love you all. I'm sure it was humankind for Bethlehem was right. Yes, it is humankind. Touch input as well, of course. Thank you, everyone, for writing in. And again, massive thank you and end of year shout out to all of our amazing members out there, all 50 plus of you across Patreon and right here on youtube.com/Helix Games. Your support. We went live with members in probably March time? Did we hit the 1K, Tom?
Yeah, I think so.
We're ticking over. We're about at 1.3.5 now, so still growing. And we couldn't do it without all of your continued support. So a shout out to everyone who wrote in. Shout out to all of our awesome members. And if you would like to support us into 2022 and beyond, you can click join below on the YouTube video or hit up the links in the description on podcast services. From as little as 99p, you get all of this content. You get super stickers, super badges, super chats in the Discord, and more importantly, you get access to our side quest show up to 6 days early, which this week won't feature Richie for the first time. He doesn't know it. I know he phoned in sick on this one. He put his coffee voice on and was like, "Oh, sorry, boss, I can't come into work today." And I said, "Richie, I'm not your boss. I'm just your friend. You do a podcast with me, mate." And he went, "Okay, I'm ill." But then he didn't realise, Tom, that he's handed the reins of his very own side quest show over to us. So We're going to go record that after this, but not until we've told you our Stadia Game of the Year, Tom. It's been a good year for games, I think. It could have been better, yes. It could have been much, much worse, yes. Big titles for me to round out the show. Hitman 3 coming right in the January. A lot of people actually, I think, forgot Hitman came out this year. That's how long of a year it's been. Little Nightmares 2, again, shout, just probably more so because it was day and date and it was free. Outriders was this year as well, which came and quite frankly gone as far as I'm concerned. Did you pick up Outriders or not?
I didn't. No, I gave it a miss in the end because of the controversy around it.
Yeah, I'm glad I dodged that bullet. Apparently it's fixed now. Don't know how much it's fixed, but that's a story for another day. Of course, Resident Evil Village coming out swinging right off the back of us getting Resident Evil 7 for free on Pro. Life is Strange True Colours as well. Man, that was this year too. Full playthrough, of course, of Little Nightmares, Village, and True Colours, all available on the channel to go check out at your own leisure across this Christmas period. Far Cry 6 is on there. I guess Riders Republic we could throw in there as well. Dirt 5 and Chorus rounding out the year for me. Feel free, Tom, to throw in any that stand out for you that I've not added on the list, but I think I went through like a Wikipedia article of all the games in 2021 and tried to get all the big ones out that specifically were only on Stadia, so no Call of Duty Vanguard on this list, but I don't think it's on anyone's list, quite frankly, this year, for other reasons or such. But Stadia Game of the Year, Tom, of those what you've played, what you've heard about, what the general consensus is, what would you deem to be your Stadia Game of the Year?
I feel like it might be down to recency bias, but I'm going to go for it anyway. For me, it has to be Far Cry 6. From that list right there, I would say Far Cry 6. I think it is it's a polished game. It's got great voice acting in it. Obviously, you can't knock the lineup really for it. Who doesn't love a bit of Far Cry as well? Like, it's same old, but it just builds on it every single time. Every single iteration of Far Cry just builds more and more. And I would probably say since 3. This is the first one where I've sort of like genuinely gotten really quite into what I'm doing with it. Albeit sometimes I feel like I get quite lost with it.
Oh yes.
I feel like from the list there, I would say there's a close for me with Hitman 3. But other than that, I would give this to Far Cry 6 on Stadia.
I do like the Far Cry 6 shout. Far Cry 6, my experience with it was an interesting one because I was hyped for it. And then it came out and I got about 10 hours in and I was like, I'm just not feeling this. And I started to weigh on it, which is different for me because I love the Far Cry games. I've got the Platinum in like 3, 4, 5, New Dawn, and Primal. That's how much I play for. I've got the Platinum for all those titles. And then it came out and I was just kind of like, which was so weird. And then I was saying to Richie, then I picked up Guardians of the Galaxy. I installed it on my PlayStation 5, And then I did that thing. As soon as I installed it, part of me was like, I kind of want to finish Far Cry 6 before I start this now. So I went back to Far Cry 6 before starting Guardians, and then it got me. And then I was like, oh shit, I'm in. I don't know whether it was like a story beat or a character was introduced or a weapon unlocked. Like, just something clicked, and I was like, I'm back in, baby. I'm all for it. And then I played it right through to completion, got the Platinum Trophy. I checked out some of the Danny Trejo DLC. I checked out the Vast DLC, because I have the Season Pass as well. And again, Giancarlo Esposito, I wish he was in the game more. I really, really do. I don't think they obviously clearly had a budget for his acting talent, and they utilized it best they could, but he wasn't in the game as an antagonist as much as I had hoped. Yeah. And for that reason, as much as I said I prefer Biohazard over it, I think my Stadia game of the year I had the most fun with was Village. Okay. Just because, again, not a horror fan. We played it on stream with our audience. Being scared shitless on camera, it just adds a totally different element to the game. So when I'm thinking Stadia specific, as a Stadia content creator, I've got to say Village, because like me and Richie, were you there for Village at the start of Village or not? I can't remember without.
I was there.
We did 7 and Village back to back, so I can't.
Yes.
Can't remember.
I wasn't there for Village, but I've witnessed the
sheer
fear.
And yeah, just something to do with like puzzle solving where the community does. But again, that's the most unique take I can bring, because everyone else, I'm sure, just played it in the confines of their own home, being scared to death in the dark. So it's a bit tinged for me, but at the same time, I love Life is Strange True Colors. I enjoyed Little Nightmares. I appreciate Hitman, but it felt like more Hitman for me. Similar to the way Far Cry did. I enjoyed Chorus, but it doesn't hit on that same Game of the Year level. No. So I'm happy to give it to Far Cry 6. Purely based on like its heritage, its history, and it arguably out of all those, it probably is the most AAA title out of the lot. Yeah, and if that's your vote, I'm happy for that to be my vote. I'm interested to see if Richie brings in any different dynamic, because he ain't here to defend his corner, quite frankly. So, nope. I'm happy with Far Cry 6. If you are,
put a stamp on it.
Stamped. Far Cry 6, Stadia Game of the Year from Helix Cloud Games, and. What do you think Richie would pick if he was here? I feel like part of me thinks he might say True Colors, but then...
That's what I was going to go with. I have a feeling he'd say True Colors.
And I think he might pivot.
But I don't necessarily think True Colors is a game of the year for me.
Same, yeah. I said to Richie on one of the streams we were on, I enjoyed it, but I also can't remember much of what happened in it. Yeah. I know I had fun playing it, and I appreciate the story, but I couldn't really, like, other than a few touch points, it wasn't like, oh my word. So we'll move on from that one. We will probably skip a few of the other categories, Tom, because they're not really Stadia relevant. We were going to talk about them, but best remake, best remaster, just quick shout out, Mass Effect Legendary Edition for me. Never played those titles, and I am totally in on this franchise now. Sold. Got the Platinum Trophy in all 3 of them. I'm hyped for whatever 4 looks like. Give me some more Geth action with Commander Shepard or whatever that looks like.
Let's go.
All for that. And then finally then, Tom, just to quickly round out the show, our overall game of the year. Stadia aside, what is the best video game you have played this year? We're pulling from Hitman 3 again, Little Nightmares 2, Outriders, Village, Ratchet and Clank, Psychonauts, Life is Strange, Deathloop, Kenner Bridge of Spirits, Guardians of the motherfucking Galaxy, Call of Duty Vanguard, Forza Horizon 5, the much maligned Battlefield 2042, rest in peace, Chorus, and Halo Infinite coming in, swinging for Xbox at the end of the year.
Yeah.
What do you think?
For me, looking at, like, just thinking about what I've played this year, I think the game that really sticks out the most, that I've had the most fun with so far, Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy, without a doubt. I love it. Personally, I eat that shit for breakfast. I love it. It's amazing. I want more time with it.
You and me, my friend, are on the exact same page. My game of the year goes to Guardians of the Galaxy. I had such a blast. It's
lovely.
I'm such a shame it's over so quickly, but that's what's so good about it. It's done. The story's finished, and that's it. I enjoy it like a good book, like a good movie. It's in and out, and the music, the voice acting, the banter between, like, the more you get into those chapters, Tom, the conversation between all the characters, it doesn't end. There's no moments of silence. So after you play that game, the contextual storytelling of just them back and forth, the banter, the shit they give each other, the jokes they make, the bad puns, the references. Over 16 chapters, by the end of it, you feel like you've had your entire life knowing these, and to a point where I would say you love them more than some of the MCU counterparts, which is saying a lot to a game that is taking a lot from the massive behemoth that is the MCU. And I loved every minute of it. Fighting's fun, story's fun, characters are fun. Don't get me wrong, they're quirky. There could be stuff that's improved. But it just shows you Square Enix commit to a single-player story. Your poor Tomb Raider team who made 3 cracking Tomb Raider reboot games got moved on to the Avengers project. Look what your teams can do if you give them a story project. Guardians of the Galaxy,
Absolutely.
my game of the year. What happened to Battlefield, Tom? What happened to Battlefield? Either way, yes, Guardians of the Galaxy for me. Hopefully we see it on Stadia soon. Again, I've got to think it was maybe just a delay, or in 2022, is Square Enix done as well? Is that how it works? Like, who knows? Who knows? But we'll find out in 2022, folks, because this has been episode 118 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, with the return of the techie teacher himself, Richie, of course, the man in many pixels, on bed rest right now. He'll be here for 2022 and beyond, once he's rested up and back well with us. You've been amazing for this last 12 months. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your support. Shout out to our members. We hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. We hope you all have a fantastic New Year, celebrating with both friends, family, colleagues, and loved ones. It's going to be a great year in gaming, folks. Cloud gaming is just getting started, as are we right here at Helix Cloud Games. Wishing you all the best. My name's been Chris.
I've been Tom.
We've been Helix Cloud Games. Have a great one, everyone, and play wherever makes you the happiest. Goodbye.
Happy New Year.